All right, good. Hi, my name is Erika Johnson, and this is my GIS capstone project, Determining Opportunity, the need for forming a Family Opportunities Index. This presentation will cover an introduction on the new American family. We'll discuss data and methods from this project, as well as the results, and we'll end with the starting point for change. The new American family. A 2015 study from the Pew Research Center found that 46% of families made up of two parents and their first marriage with children. In 1960, that number was 73%, and in 1980, it was 61%. They also found that 26% of children 18 and younger live with a single parent. In a report by the Annie E. Casey Foundation, a study found that 25% of students in US colleges are parents, and nearly half of them are single parents. That means that over half of all families are non-traditional. These studies highlight the need of evaluating opportunity of the family. The themes of this research focused on employment, transportation, commute, and housing, with participation in employment being one of the priorities in terms of women returning back to work after maternity leave so that they can gain experience and build wealth. And then also childcare was a big theme, and temporary housing for those who are divorcing or separating from their partners. The US family policies that affect families the most are listed in this slide, and the two that I'm going to focus on is the Family Medical Leave Act, FMLA, which allows families to take job-protected unpaid leave to care for a sick family member, or for maternity leave, or for serious illness. And then the other is the 1990 Child Care Development Block Grant Act, which created federal funding distributed by state programs that subsidize childcare costs. Note that all of the programs associated with them are all managed by different government entities. In this section, we'll cover the data and methodologies used for this project. The focus of this project was the 58 counties of California. The Opportunity Nation is comprised of over 300 organizations that advocate for the upward economic mobility of all people. They're most known for creating the Opportunity Index, which is used to measure opportunity in the US. The Opportunity Index is made up of 3 dimensions: economy, education, and health and community. The indicators listed for each of those dimensions are in red, and then the ones in gray were not used either because the data was not available or the indicator is not something that's measured at the county level. Housing was modified in this study because we wanted to be able to use it in a comparison way with the Family Opportunity Index. Here you'll see the Opportunity Index used in this study along with the descriptions of each indicator. All of this led me to ask, how can we better measure the opportunity of families? Using the research from before, the Opportunity Index was modified to better capture the complexities of today's non-traditional family types. The indices added and the economy dimension were participation, commute, vehicles, rental vacancy, and childcare. And here's the table with the Family Opportunity Index that was used with the descriptions. You'll notice that participation is a comparison of labor participation between family and non-family populations. This next slide shows the flowchart for this project. It shows the accumulation of the data for each indicator for the 2 indexes, and the data was normalized and calculated for each dimension to use to calculate the final index scores. After which they were then mapped, and the Family Opportunity Index was tested for spatial autocorrelation. These are the data sources used in this study. You'll see with most of the data coming from the American Community Survey and the US Census Bureau. And this is the normalization calculation that was used. It's the observed measured value, subtracting the minimum value divided by the maximum minus minimum value multiplied by 100. Tobler's first law of geography states everything is related to everything else, but nearer things are more related than distant things. In evaluating spatial autocorrelation, we assumed a null hypothesis or a random pattern. Moran's I is used to test if there is a pattern in the data and if the data is clustered, dispersed, or a random pattern. Values range from -1 to 1, with values closer to -1 having a negative spatial autocorrelation, and values closer to 1 having a positive spatial autocorrelation. In testing for local spatial autocorrelation, the method of contiguity used for this study was the Queen's method, which uses all of the county's border sharing neighbors. High values indicate a significant cluster of high values. Low values indicate a significant cluster of low values. Low, and high values indicate a high or low value observation by a high or low value cluster. High, low, and low, high both reveal outliers of the data. The programs used for this project were Python for the compilation of the data, ArcGIS Pro for the calculations of the indexes, GeoDA for the spatial autocorrelation testing, and Tableau and ArcGIS Pro for the graphics and visualizations. The results. Table 3 shows the opportunity index scores that were calculated. You'll see Marin County was at the top scoring county, followed by San Francisco County, and Trinity County and Lake County as the bottom two counties. And then due to missing values for Alpine and Sierra counties, they were not included in the study. Table 4 lists the Family Opportunity Index scores by county. Again, Marin County was at the top of the list, and this time it was followed by Placer County. Trinity County and Lake County remained in the bottom two positions, and then due to missing values, Alpine and Sierra counties were not included in the study. You'll notice this time that San Francisco dropped from 2nd to 9th on this list, and we'll discover why later. So in examining the two maps together in a side-by-side comparison, we can see the difference in the methods of calculation more clearly. The yellow color on the map represents the lower score, while the darker purple and blues indicate a higher scoring county. Next, the amount of change was calculated between the two indexes, and the results are listed in this chart. Modoc County saw the largest gain in score, while San Francisco County saw the largest decrease in score. You'll also notice that highly populated areas saw a greater decrease in scores as well. And you'll notice in the third column, it'll list Ventura, Orange, and Los Angeles counties as negative scoring or higher negative changes as well. Change in opportunity map. High and low values reflect opportunity within the county that was previously not being captured by the opportunity index. Two areas emerge as hotspots for negative delta scores, the San Francisco Bay Area and the Los Angeles County area. For San Francisco, the indices that factored into its lowered opportunity score were vehicles. Cars were not necessary because it's the majority a city that has public transportation. Participation, the labor force there favors non-families because of the tech industry, and rental vacancy. San Francisco has a limited rental housing availability. The Moran's I for the Family Opportunity Index was 0.158, signifying a slight positive spatial autocorrelation. So the null hypothesis of spatial randomness was rejected. The cluster map, the GeoDA cluster analysis results. This cluster map illustrates a cluster of positive spatial autocorrelation, which is higher than expected in a spatially random distribution of values. These counties signify the regional similarities of these counties' Family Opportunity Index values. High, low, and low, high counties display statistical spatial outliers. The outliers are markers for unusual conditions taking place. In taking a look at the significance results, values were considered statistically significant if the p-value was less than 0.05. The San Francisco Bay Area and Fresno County area clusters were both flagged as statistically significant. This visualization is an example of how policymakers and community leaders can use this data presented in this project to select a county to implement a more targeted approach to aiding families. Note that the larger card tiles are on the left versus the smaller ones on the right. The card side is representative of the percent of families within the county's population. The color of the card from light to dark is indicative of the percentage of family households with children 18 and younger as a percent of the total households. Also listed on these card tiles are the Opportunity Index score and the Family Opportunity Index scores. So a person could easily see that Colusa, Kings, Tulare, and Merced all have larger and darker colored tiles, and then compare their Family Opportunity Index scores to select Tulare or Kings County as locations to implement programming for children and families. Going back to the change in opportunity score in this visualization, the size of the circles is based on the Family Opportunity Index score. San Francisco County lost 26 points in its score, yet it still has a high family opportunity score. This is because the new index only focused on modifying one dimension of measurement that impacts families. The starting point for change. Based on the themes revealed during the research for this project, the researchers all had great solutions that could have a tremendous impact on the family opportunity if these changes were enacted. In employment, a national paid family leave, flexible work schedules, more socialized childcare would have big impacts. Also, flexible work schedules would work to improve transportation issues that could arise or any child care issues that could arise. And in housing, transitional housing could provide space for evolving families. Also, the weaning of assistance could help people and families from being pushed back into poverty. I'll also mention that a one-stop application system could help streamline families who need services. The final takeaways from this project are, first, to note that opportunity changes and that it is important to evaluate it yearly or as often as you can. Opportunity is based on time, conditions within an area, and the policies that are passed. And second, that in the future, more work needs to be done. Work involving getting everyone access to the resources they need and have available to them at all levels should become a priority, as well as more research should be done to explore and determine the opportunity of single parents, LGBTQIA+ parents, migrant parents, and college parents. And finally, determining how the pandemic has changed opportunity this last year is critical in determining where families are today and how we can move forward. Thank you all for your time. This concludes my presentation. Are there any questions?